Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Steven, and today I'll be talking about, for me, the highly anticipated 4K release of Clint Eastwood's Pale Rider. I grew up watching the spaghetti westerns with my parents. Usually, in Montreal, there was a Saturday afternoon kind of movie. So if it was a very cold day, we sit down and watch, the good, the bad, the ugly, A Fistful of Dollars, Outlaw Josie Wales, you name it. That's when I was introduced to Clint Eastwood and thought that Man with No Name was a very intriguing um, type of movie, and I've always gravitated to the Clint Eastwood westerns, and I've been a fan ever since. So in 1985, the western was considered dead. There was action movies and science fiction movies and fantasy movies. It was like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Jean Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, Star Wars, Star Trek, anything that was super adventure, high action, special effects driven. And suddenly Clint Eastwood comes out with this Western. And people are like, holy cow, what are you talking about? Western is dead. He kind of brought it back in a way. It wasn't a monster hit, but a big enough hit for the time. The movie was made with a $6.9 million budget. It grossed over 41 million at the time. The film was directed and it starred Clint Eastwood. It also co-starred Michael Moriarty, Carrie Snodgrass, Chris Penn, and Sidney Penny with a whole bunch of others. As for the specs, you have an audio English Dolby Atmos, you have English DTS HD Master 2.0, you have a French and Spanish Dolby Digital 2.0. For video aspects, you have a HEVC H.265. It is a native 4K transfer 2160p, an aspect ratio of 2039:1. I thought my 2010 Blu-ray was okay, very grainy. The sound was a little off. The coloring was off. When they're looking in a cabin and the outside is bright daylight and the inside is dark, and they had no lights, it didn't look natural. With this, I'm going to tell you, the the majestic landscapes are brought to life. It is beautiful to watch. I was in awe. It sounds great. I never had to raise my volume when they were speaking or when the music came on. You left it. It was just perfect. Everything is perfect that way. The skin tones, they don't look like they were, messed around with like the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies that came out recently. It's still a little grainy, but not as much as I remember it. But it looks better that way. There's still a little bit of grain to make it look like an old school Clint Eastwood Western. So they kept it enough to make it seem like it's still that Western that I grew up with. And I like that part. But the lighting, like when they're in the cabin and the girl kind of reads like, and I think Death comes in on a pale horse and Clint Eastwood, she's in the cabin. It's dark because there's no light and outside is bright. The lighting looks natural, like you're sitting there in the cabin with them. That's how good it is. It's not like you're watching a movie, it's like you're sitting in the movie, which I thought was great. The mountains, the snow, you see Clint Eastwood's beard, how shaggy it is. The miners, they look cold. You can see they're really outside in the cold. It's great. When Clint Eastwood walks, you hear his spurs clanging, and it's a very haunting sound. It changed the whole aspect of this movie. So you hear it's kind of like death is coming or vengeance is coming because you hear the clang, 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 much more clear than the Blu-ray. So this is the steel book. Well, I call it a tin book because it looks like a tin, but they call it a steel book. Comes strictly with the 4K. There's no additional Blu-ray. I like this picture here a lot. I bought the steelbook because in Montreal the 4K had Pale Rider, and then there was the French version. No offense, it's an English movie, so I want the English title. Um, there's some featurettes here. I think these two are new. It's Diary of Sidney Penny, who plays the young girl, Sarah Wheeler. Yes, excuse me, sorry, Megan Wheeler. My apologies. Um, Lessons from the Set, Painting the Preacher. There's the documentary of Pale Rider. There's three other documentaries, I believe. Clint Eastwood: A Cinematic Legacy, Reinvesting Westerns, and Eastwood Directs the Untold Story, and the Eastwood Factor. I think the last three are the same as the Blu-ray. I think it's the Diary of Sidney Penny and the painting of Preacher that are new. If I'm correct, don't quote me on that, but I believe the two featurettes are new, and the other three have been already available on Blu-ray or DVD, depending what you had. Like I said, the imagery is fantastic. The audio is crisp and clear when they speak. Like I said, you don't have to raise the volume. It's beautiful, beautiful, and it looks better. It sounds better, but it still sounds like the film I saw. Like with the gunfire, it sounds great, but you can see they didn't like enhance it with AI or something to make it sound louder. But it just sounds clearer. Clear doesn't necessarily mean louder, but things look clearer, sounds clearer, but still keeps the integrity of the original film the way I remember it, just brighter and more colorful. But no way is like it's like True Lies from Arnold Schwarzenegger, how they messed around with it, like the coloring and all this, and they're fake. It's an improvement, but it just makes things clear that you see the aspects that they were outside. You see Clint Eastwood's beard. I mean, it's fantastic. Do yourself a favor if you ever thought, and I know a lot of people don't think Pale Rider is as great as for the like as great as the good, the bad, and the ugly. It may not be, but this is still an underrated gem in his filmography. I love this movie. Maybe it's because the first Western I ever saw with him in the theater. Maybe it's nostalgia talking, but for me, I think it's an underrated gem. It deserves much more love. It deserves a lot more respect than it does. And I hope this 4K transfer gets a lot of attention. It deserves it. It's done right. The film, the integrity of the film has not been altered, but it is improved to look greater, sound greater, but no way is diminished. It is the film that you originally saw, just better. And I cannot express how happy I am with this. I saw this movie with my mother, and she's not here with me anymore. But yesterday, I think in spirit, we watched it together, and we both had a grin that it's the best that ever looked and the best that ever sounded. If you have anybody who loves the Clint Eastwood Westerns, I'm telling you, you will not go wrong with this purchase. Do yourself a favor, pick it up. This is Steven from the Roundtable with my initial thoughts on the 4K release of Clint Eastwood underrated film Pale Rider. Get this movie. See you guys.